But I'd like to welcome our participants today. We have Laurie Pace, SVP, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Quid, Brett Butz, Senior Director of Brand Partnerships at Outfront, John Schneider, Enterprise Sales Leader at Yelp, and moderated by Krista Lang, Senior Director, Media and Planning at GoTo Foods, which was just recently changed from Focus Brands.
Hi everyone. So I head up our media team at GoTo Foods, which rolls off the tongue not easily yet. We just announced the name change last week. So we have 7 crave-worthy brands like Cinnabon, Auntie Anne's, McAllister, Schlotzsky's, and so forth. So we do a lot, obviously, in the media and data space. So I'm excited to talk to a couple familiar faces and the new face with Laurie on the panel today. So hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you cannot. But maybe introduce yourselves. I know we just got introduced, but maybe tell a little bit about yourself and your role at your current company. And also with ChatGPT and AI and all the fun stuff that data brings to what we're doing. Interesting thing, if you've used it in the past recently or something of a tool, or if what your stance is on it. I have to say I use ChatGPT to come up with some of these questions, so it's very helpful.
That's why it looked like a computer came up with those questions. Can you all hear me? All right, is that happening? I'm working, using it right? Well, anyways, I'm Brett Butz, Senior Director of Brand Partnerships Southeast with Outfront. I'm going on my 2nd year with Outfront, so somewhat new to Outfront specifically, but prior to joining Outfront, and again, for those of you unfamiliar with Outfront, we're really the premier out-of-home platform in the U.S. Our focus is primarily on roadside billboards and spectaculars, and also transit advertising, so trains, buses, subways, and then like urban panels and like lifestyle centers. So that's kind of the bulk of where our inventory lies. But you'll probably hear me advocate for like all forms of out-of-home advertising across high-impact, large format, all the way down to place-based, like contextually targeted screens. Where I got that experience was primarily the 6 years prior to joining Outfront. I was with a company called Vistar Media, which is really the leader and pioneer in building out programmatic technology for digital out-of-home. So it's been really given me a front row seat to see a lot of the innovation that's happening, that's driving a lot of the growth in out-of-home, specifically a lot of the technology that's enabling brands to really lean in more to what's basically the oldest media channel that's been out there, like how it's kind of new and fun and interesting again. Well, I mean, it's always been kind of fun and interesting, but really allowing a lot more applications and allowing it to be a larger part of brands' kind of omni-channel strategy. Oh, and AI. So I don't really, I saw how this movie ends, so I'm kind of bearish on AI, right? Because and we all saw Terminator, right? So I'm just trying to keep it out of my life as long as I can, but I know a time is coming where I'll have to kind of embrace it.
Yeah, probably will do that. So hi everyone, my name is Laurie Pace. I lead marketing and communication for Quid. And what we do at Quid is consumer and market intelligence, so we're a platform powered by generative AI.
There you go.
So, I mean, I'm here to convince you, I guess. I'm making my personal challenge. Use AI every day on my day-to-day job. Love creating a ChatGPT version where it's only me that can see them, so nobody can steal those data. Or maybe they can, I don't know. I tell myself they can't, and my team as well. But yeah, so basically what we do at Quid is provide customer context for organizations across the world. And a bit like we were talking about earlier in the session today, is really around knowing the context of what your customers are doing. Who do they hang out with? What do they like to do? And taking that from a rich source of data and so on. So excited to be here.
Hello, I'm John Schneider from Yelp. I feel like this is not doing anything, but is it? It is? All right, let's go! I'm down from New Jersey where I live, but Atlanta's kind of my second home down here with a lot of our clients. I run one of our enterprise sales teams at Yelp. Have done so for the last 4 years. And prior to that, some of you might know me from any number of different startups that I was at, some good, some bad. But a wild and crazy ride, and excited to be at Yelp, where I'm guessing you all know Yelp. Fun fact, and I guess one of the reasons that I'm at Yelp is that if you look at activity across home services and travel and retail, that's now equal to what's on there for restaurants and places to go and hang out and eat. So a lot of evolution on our platform, which has been really exciting to see. When it comes to ChatGPT, I use it mostly in my personal life. My son and I do NBA card collecting and selling. If anyone's interested in that, we host a show on Whatnot. Come find me later. But I was looking into, I was like, well, what inventory can we get from the last 5 years that's really going to pop that people are going to be excited about? I was asking ChatGPT what was popular. Putting in such a vague request didn't work. And it was kind of like an education in ChatGPT and how it both requires but also allows you to put in a lot more information. I think you even put in my social security number and date of birth when you were coming up with your questions.
Yep.
So it's a great tool, but like any tool, you need to make sure that you're putting in the right inputs to get the right output.
Cool. Awesome. So this is a pretty broad topic, right? The future of media and data analytics. There's a lot to unpack there, right? So we are all probably dealing with tons of data, tons of analytics, maybe a little analysis paralysis. But in general, I think it's interesting to talk about maybe the top trends, the top things that you're seeing. So I would love each of you guys to talk a little bit about what major trends you're observing today, either within your role or within the industry that you're excited about.
No, I can.
You can start.
I want
Yeah.
Mike.
All right. So one trend that we see a lot of, and I'm sure you are as well, is there's a lot more conversation and collaboration from multiple teams. Partly because everyone's freaking out, about cookies and how are we going to measure things, and what attribution are we going to use. But it's really a blessing in disguise because formerly, Krista, it would just be you and I like having a conversation about things, and now we've got people from data science and analytics and attribution who formerly were kind of playing the game of telephone, and you were hearing stuff from them and relaying information to them, and now they're part of the conversation. And I think it helps us as media partners to be like the unique entities that we are. I mean, you're always going to kind of put someone in this bucket or that bucket, but we always hear the term, well, we're going an apples-to-apples comparison. That was another thing I put into ChatGPT, is how many apple varieties are there? Thousands. So when you say apples to apples, like WTF, like all these apples are completely different. So, when you have your buckets, kind of sift through those buckets, kind of ask yourself, like, oh, why is this different from that one? And I think that trend of looking deeper into your partners, how you're measuring them, and what value they can bring is really something that it takes a lot more time, it's a lot more work, but it's going to have a lot of much better outcomes for everyone going forward.
Yeah, I can go next. I really like that apple to apple and thousands of apples. So thank you for that. From my side, I would say contextual advertising is a big one for me. So as marketers, ABM, we've heard about ABM for the past 10 years, which basically we know is just good marketing, right? The right message at the right place at the right time. But apples are not apples, and they can be very different from one another. So that context in contextual advertising and being able to layer that with ABM can really help in not only targeting the right audience, but engaging and being relevant. We now know with what's happening with the cookies. When I speak even more loudly, my French comes out, so and I'll try to enunciate. So when we see what's happening with cookies, that makes it even more difficult now to understand your customer. So being able to add that context and layering it so that ABM is not just a catch-all, but is very relevant, it's important.
Yeah. I've got some trends too. I don't have any Apple analogies to go on here, but it's funny. There's a ton of different trends I can speak on, and when you here the question is, what's trends that are happening in media and data analytics, right? So how do I translate that? Media trends that we're seeing, like a lot. I just want to touch on a couple because they're kind of neat that we're seeing in this place, and Liz touched on one in her keynote too. Was kind of like I called it kind of hijacking cultural moments, but I don't think you can say, I mean, hijacking, we're not on a plane. Nate, can I say? You can't say it. But really just being a part of these cultural moments, and Liz called them big media moments or non-skippable moments, right? So really showing up in a big way to cultural moments in events that are important to kind of like your audience, right? I think that's a cool trend. We're seeing a lot of brands kind of going back to that maybe in out of home. I think another cool trend that we're seeing more in the media landscape is kind of like this anamorphic 3D creative that we're seeing on a lot of our spectaculars. Some really cool activations there. Porsche, who's local here, did a really cool one when they're introducing the new electric, I'm going to butcher the name of the model of the vehicle, but the electric Porsche. That one, yes, thank you so much. I knew someone in the room would know it. Coca-Cola most recently did a really cool activation in a lifestyle center in LA over the holidays, where like this piece of artwork came to life, and really her hand came out and like a bottle of Coke was coming out of a tube. If anybody like follows me on LinkedIn, I just posted this article and it shows a link to the video. It's really cool. Like drops the bottle, and then there's like a tube underneath the billboard, the spectacular that serves the Coke out of a vending machine down at the bottom. So really just being having a cool presence, over the holidays, with Coke, just a really cool activation, utilizing like that 3D anamorphic creative technology, but most specific to data as it relates to this specific panel. A trend that we're seeing a lot is more like the data-driven, like dynamic creative in out of home. Really allows you to feature, weather. I'm looking straight at weather, so weather's in the room, right? Like weather, time of day, day of week, sports scores. Really, these really cool data feeds that allow you to present much more relevant creative to the time, place, and audience that's in front of that screen. So I think those have been, that's kind of the coolest trend that's relevant to the data analytics portion of this.
That's awesome. And again, I think Liz talked about inspired data and customer motivators. I think you guys touched on that around customer context and personalization. That is amazing from a creative perspective. Would love to hear a little bit more. I think you talked about that. But as we think about, I have to align to the bottom line, right, and driving business. So would really love to understand if you guys have any tools or strategies that you're using right now to help with more real-time data or tracking, and what is actually working with some of that.
I get the look and the mic, so I'll go, I'll go for it. I think that the good news is that we've never had this much data, and Liz talked about it during our presentation. The bad news is we've never had this much data. So what do you do with it, right? We're drowning in a sea of data, and something that really has helped us, but also our customers and different brands in terms of being able to pinpoint the marketing that we're doing, is really being able to align all those sources that we can gather from everywhere, but then layer it with generative AI. And this is really a game-changing moment, in my opinion, when it comes to insight. So being able to actually ask a ton of data, a question around like, show me the top 5 trends based on data coming from your CRM, based on data coming from review, from social media and so on, and the machine being able to spit them out. That is a game changer in terms of speed and access to data that I think will just keep on progressing over the next even months. I mean, I was going to say decade, but at this stage, weeks could be the answer.
Yeah, I can jump in. As far as Yelp is concerned, I mean, first, almost 20 years ago, it was just a directory and a search platform. Search is obviously in the moment. If you're avid Yelpers, you probably know this. Like Yelp's all about unbranded search. If you know the place you want to eat at or the person you want to hire, you're just going to Google it. That's fine. So getting those unbranded searches and getting that intent in real time as a platform is hugely, critical to our business. Now, how we're using that with our first-party data to then off-platform serve up, CTV ads or OLV display, whatever it may be. It's the temporal relevance of that data. It's the recency of that data. That person is looking to transact. That's why they're on Yelp. So when we go from on-platform to off-platform, its ability to be nimble and in real time activate so that we can capture whatever it is that we're looking for. It could be awareness, it could be consideration, and oftentimes it is conversion.
And for that out-of-home perspective, this is where I get geeked out about, because this is where I think the really cool things are happening in the out-of-home space, where it comes to like the data integration portion and all the technology that's being built around that, so that it enables like really intelligent targeting for out-of-home, digital out-of-home, but also out-of-home, especially when it comes to planning. It's the way that we're utilizing this third and first-party data from our brands in these DMPs that are created specifically for digital out-of-home, right? It allows us to marry that third or first-party data with mobile location data, which has been huge, so we can analyze the movement patterns of these audiences and really match up, like find out where this audience is at scale, like live, work, and play. It allows us to intersect those movement patterns with out-of-home inventory that is most relevant to them as they kind of move throughout their day. So from a planning perspective for out-of-home, like data integration and all this technology that's being built for that has been huge. Also, like we talked about a bit about like retargeting too. Like you have the opportunity to, these same platforms can identify when you marry them with the ad logs where the actual out-of-home campaigns ran, you can identify devices that were exposed at time of ad serve and just pass them back to any mobile DSP for retargeting. So an opportunity to speak to that same audience, hit them, as they eventually open a mobile ad that might disrupt something that they're doing on some piece of content. But from there, and then also I think, which is huge to brand marketers, is the measurability, right? So measurement and attribution. So out-of-home historically has been a more difficult channel to measure. The same way that you're measuring your current digital programs, like that type of measurement is available now in out-of-home, and a lot of it has to do with sharing this exposure data and sharing that with third-party partners that can measure footfall, web and in-app activity downward to sales, but also mobile panel partners like an M4 that can really work to identify brand lift, awareness, consideration, tune-in intent, all that fun stuff that other channels have been able to play in for quite some time. It's really something that you're able to do in out-of-home, and depending on the scale of the campaign, really can allow you to optimize like mid-campaign and kind of find out what venues are working that are driving the KPIs that are important to you.
Thank you, guys. I know it's a broad subject, but really unique perspectives from the panel, so appreciate it.